all, because I was at that point driving all the inquiries to either my brokerage or directly to my cell phone. And you can imagine what that was like. I mean, I was selling over 400 homes a year and taking all those calls personally. So in the evenings, on the weekends, I was inundated really with inquiries that were coming in, and it was me calling all these prospects back. And you know, some of them were great prospects, and of course some of them were not so great. But it was pretty difficult for me to have any normal life. You know, even when my beeper wasn't going off, I was sort of stressed out that it might go off and ruin the evening. I'm sure some of you have been there before. What I found, though, as a side benefit to automating all of the lead capture was the fact that prospects are much more likely to raise their hand and leave a message when they don't have to speak to a live salesperson. And what I found for me anyway in my business is I generate 3 times as many inquiries when I tell the prospect in the advertisement that it's a free recorded message, that they don't have to talk to anybody. So you know, in addition to the lifestyle advantages, there's a huge marketing advantage to using a recorded hotline message when you're you know, handling all your inquiries that way, instead of you being the robot on call 24/7. So that's you know, really how I got started with hotlines. Now, I should say this: before you and I hooked up, Mike, I was handling this with answering machines that I bought at Radio Shack, and I had like a dozen phone lines coming into my house, and I had these recorded messages on these different, you know, answering machines that I had bought at Radio Shack. And it's funny how you and I met, because for those of you that may not know this, I met Mike because I sold his house. He was a client of mine, and actually you met my father was the one on my team that had handled that transaction, had handled the listing and sale of your house. And you got talking to my dad about what I was doing with my marketing, and it just so happened you said, well, that's what we do, and the rest is history.
That's right. That's about 12 years ago. I know I had a house that I couldn't sell. It was a house, I think, designed by Frank Lloyd Wrong. But you managed to sell it within 30 days. And I think it was a lot had to do with me working with you, is your marketing and your scripts, and the guaranteed home sale campaign got my attention. So that was about 12 years ago, and you're right. So over the years, we've built a custom hotline system for your members, and here we are today. Okay, great. So we offer 2 types of hotlines, as you know, Craig. The first being the information line, which flies under the consumer radar using your classified and editorial style ads, and the USP property tree line, which is all about you and your unique selling proposition and your property listings. Can you describe how the different hotlines work and how they would affect your lead generation?
Well, yeah. I mean, the 2 different hotlines, the branded and unbranded, were created because I engage in 2 types of marketing in my business, and so should everyone else on this call. I you know, advertise myself and my unique programs. I call these my USPs. I advertise my listings, and when I'm doing any of that, obviously I'm not trying to hide the fact that these property listings or these great programs and benefits are coming from Craig Proctor, the real estate agent. And even though I've had a lot of success in my local marketplace, what I did find is there's some people in my marketplace and some people in your marketplace that no matter, you know, how good a job you think you're doing, they don't want to contact you. In fact, they don't want to contact any real estate agent at all. So what I played around with was minimizing my contact information, although we all have to have, or most of us anyway, have to have our name and our company name on our ads, as do I, by downplaying that the information was coming from a real estate agent. Ironically, I found that the ads worked better. I mean, that's really the simplest way to put it is I used to think that I was the benefit, or I was what you should be promoting. You know, it's all about the real estate agent. And if you look back at some of my earlier ads, you'll see they were image-based ads where I would run ads saying, call Craig, here's his designations, here's all the homes I sell. But what I found is, most people really don't care. So when I'm running my less branded advertising, for me, it's the least expensive and most effective way to generate leads. But it would make no sense to run less branded ads and then drive them to a branded hotline. So all of my branded advertising goes to a branded hotline, which, it's clear that when you call that hotline, this is a Craig Proctor hotline. It might start off with a message that says, hi, and thanks for calling Craig Proctor's real estate hotline, and then goes on to talk about some of the unique benefits or USPs that I offer. When I'm running a less branded ad, for example, I'm offering a free list of distress sales or fixer-uppers or an online home evaluation, then I'm driving to a hotline that basically says, you've reached the real estate information line. Please enter the 4-digit ID number for the information you're looking for. So it's just an extension of those two types of marketing.
That's great. Craig, one of the things that we find our customers run into all the time is that they get a lot of callers going to their hotline, but very few messages. Can you tell our listeners today why this happens, or some of the reasons why that may happen?
That's a very common problem. I want everyone to consider this. Let's say that you ran a couple of your listings, ads for a couple of your listings in the newspaper. I want everyone to honestly ask themselves, what percentage of the buyers that call you on any one of your listings is actually interested in the property? Maybe 1 or 2 out of 10. Okay, about 1 or 2 out of every 10 ad calls or sign calls you get are actually interested in the home. The vast majority of inquiries, the vast majority of buyers would politely thank you for your time, but they would tell you that that property is too big or too small or in the wrong location or whatever. So we have to understand that your hotline, okay, has to say the right things to interest the vast majority of people. Otherwise, the vast majority of people will hang up. Let's go back to the ad call example. If I received 10 ad calls today, I'm pretty confident that 8 out of 10 would not be interested in that property. But because I'm an experienced agent, I'm not going to let the other 8 prospects just go away and hang up, am I? I would try to find out what those other 8 buyers are looking for, what type of home would interest them, and then I would tell them about perhaps other homes in MLS that match their criteria, or I might offer them a free list of homes that match their criteria, or a list of bank foreclosures or fixer-uppers. But certainly I would try to make a more universal offer. A universal offer is something that everybody wants. Well, that's what we need to do with your hotline. You see, the problem is, for most real estate agents, when they try to use a hotline, the hotline doesn't mimic what they would do or say if they were actually speaking with a prospect. So, for example, when real estate agents are attracted to using a hotline when promoting their listings, I mean, that's a pretty nice idea. That appeals to a lot of real estate agents. Hey, wouldn't it be great if I never had to take an ad call or a sign call and I drove all of these buyers to my hotline, and the hotline answers all the inquiries and does such a great job that everybody that calls in about my listing wants to buy it. Wouldn't that be great? However, that expectation is not realistic, because that's not what happens if we were taking these calls ourselves manually. Okay, 8 out of 10 prospects are not going to be interested in your listing, no matter how great it is, and they're going to hang up unless you use specific language, unless you try to convert these prospects. And that's what we need to do when replacing ourselves with a hotline. The hotline must do what you would do to convert a prospect to a face-to-face meeting or to a client. So when a prospect calls in on one of my listings, before they're able to listen to the specific description of the property, on my main greeting that they're forced to listen to, I'm communicating some pretty wonderful information to them. I might offer them a list of all the homes that match their criteria emailed to them every day, or a list of distress sales or bank foreclosures, or homes they can buy with very low down payments. I might offer them a free online home evaluation if they're thinking of selling their home. I might tell them about my guaranteed sale program or my Sunday tour of homes. Clearly, the information that I communicate on my main greeting is of wider appeal than any one property listing could ever be. And what we all need to do is step back and look at what we're trying to accomplish, and then look at what we're doing with our hotline to see if we're actually accomplishing this. And in most cases, of course, the answer is no. All we're doing is we're driving buyers to a hotline that describes a property that we already know and agree they're never going to buy, hence they hang up. And that doesn't help anybody, because what do you really have? You have a bunch of hang-ups. That's not what my system's about. My system's about getting a prospect to call you, be so interested in what you offer that they leave their contact information. They leave a message saying, you know, hi, it's Mike Kowalski, my address is this, my phone number is this. Now I call back Mike because he left a message on his own volition, but I'm positioned as an expert or an information provider, versus calling back a hang-up and being positioned as a salesperson. I mean, how does that really work, Mike, if I trap your phone number? If you call my hotline and you hang up, all I can really do is, I don't even know your name. I call you back and I say, hi, I don't know who this is. This is Craig Proctor with RE/MAX, but I saw your hotline. You hung up, but here I am anyway. I mean, it just is not the same.
So it's next to a cold call, basically.
Well, it is a little, it is cut above cold calling. It really is.
Right. So basically, on the USP property, Craig, you don't recommend putting the price of the home at all in the script, in the hotline script.
I wouldn't put it in the hotline script, because what if you reduce the price? Now you got to
Right.
re-record the script. The price does go in my ad, and the ad, of course, says free recorded message and drives traffic to the hotline. Let's talk about the ad itself. In the ad, I don't offer too many details about the house, because if you say too much, all you're likely going to do is eliminate somebody. This is another big mistake that I see agents making, is they babble on and on in the copy, in the description of the home in their ad. And what they do is, unknowingly, is they eliminate prospects that otherwise may have called their hotline, may have left a message, and may have become a client. So just because it's true doesn't mean you need to say it in your ad. For example, let's say that I have a listing that's on a corner lot. It's a 2-bedroom home, and it's got an in-ground pool. Those are not things that I'm going to include in the copy of my ad, because there's some people, no matter what, they don't want to live in a corner lot, or a 2-bedroom house sounds too small, or they just aren't interested in the pool. So the key is some physical features do cause a greater response, but most do not. What we need to learn is which physical features work to increase response and which ones to stay away from, and in particular, to be aware of what we call the process of elimination. And we all do this, don't we? If you're looking for a brand new car today, you would look under, if you're looking for a used car, under, used cars, and in the newspaper, in my paper anyway, there might be 250 cars. Well, I'm not going to read 250 ads, so I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to start Xing out cars that don't sound very good. I'm not looking at these cars, but I'm trying to pare down the list to make it manageable. Well, understand that your buyers do the same thing. So the key is to write an ad. Learn how to write an ad that cannot be eliminated. Remember, the idea behind the ad a little later on in my career,
Right.
I was, generating all these leads. So my marketing's working. As I said a few minutes ago, be careful what you wish for, because some days I would generate 50 to 60 leads in a day. Well, I can't follow up with 50 to 60 people. And remember, back earlier in my career, The problem I had was the guy doing the calling was also doing the doing. This is before I had a team of agents to help me go out and work with the buyers and sellers. So I became so good on the phone that I was setting up buyer appointments and listing appointments. Well, guess what? Now I'm out on the listing appointments and the buyer appointments, and I don't have any time to make the calls. Well, if you don't make the calls, a week or two later, you don't have any appointments. So it was this vicious, this conflict, this vicious cycle. Lots of appointments, no appointments. Lots of appointments, no appointments. So what I decided I needed to do is I needed a way to prioritize the leads that were coming in. Think about this. If you have too many leads and you only have, let's say you generate on average 50 or 60 a day, but you only have time to call 30, wouldn't it be great if somehow I could wave a magic wand and I understood what the best leads were? What are the best, if I only had time to call 30 leads today, what would be the best 30 out of those 50 or 60 leads that I generated? Well, here's how I do it. Buyers are told at the end of the hotline script, they're asked a question, which is, before you leave your message, for Craig to receive the information, we'd like you to specify which report you're interested in. If you have good credit history, a combined family income of X amount or more, and by the way, you're going to decide what that is, and you have good job stability, please ask for report number 1. However, if you've got poor credit history or you have a combined family income of below X amount or poor job stability, please ask for report number 2 to best help you in your situation. Well, now I'm using the hotline not only to answer all of my buyer and seller inquiries 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but the hotline robot is sifting and sorting the prospects into 2 different piles, the number 1s and the number 2s. So now I know exactly who to call back first.
That's great. The next question we had, Craig, which is very similar to the one we just answered, is why isn't this working in my area, and why doesn't the hotline work, and I'm going to stop using it. Can you give us a kind of a brief?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be kind of brutal. It's got nothing to do with the area and everything to do with the person in the mirror. Sometimes we like to let ourselves off the hook, and we think that it can't be us. I must be doing this perfectly, and it must be something to do with my particular situation. Well, since we have members successfully making lots of money with this system in every state in the U.S. and every province in Canada, and in fact in 13 different countries, I can promise you it has nothing to do with your geographical area, your target market. I mean, some people will let themselves off the hook by saying, well, I work the high end and I don't think that this will work in the high end, or I work the low end, or I work in a resort area, or I'm in the Midwest, or I'm in the South. It's got nothing to do with that, because we have members successfully using this in all those different groups. If it's not working for you, I promise you it's because one of the steps that we've discussed are not being implemented properly.
So basically, it's part of their marketing. I mean, the hotline's been working for thousands of agents over the years, and it's a robot that really captures all the leads, so it's more related to marketing.
It's got to do with the the message in your ad. Let's call that your message. And I don't care where your message is running, whether it's a print ad, whether it's Google pay-per-click advertising, whether it's on Craigslist, a billboard, a bus bench, a flyer, a postcard, on the radio or television. It doesn't matter. Your message must be effective, and we give you effective messages to test. And of course, you should be testing the medium. But when when you're driving people to your hotline, are you saying the right thing to cause the vast majority of these prospects to raise their hand and want to leave you a trail? And you can't make a buyer or seller leave a message. You can only compel them to want to do so. You can't will it to work. You have to use marketing. A big thing that we haven't talked about, but I'm sure we will, is the power of being able to track and test with the hotline. It really will work for anybody in any marketplace if you follow this system. In other words, it'll work for 100% of people that follow the system correctly.
You mentioned the internet as a medium, and it's It's the most popular medium now in real estate. Can you tell us why it's so important now to be using hotlines as well as websites and leads from the hotlines, and are leads from the hotlines as good as the leads off the website?
Well, yeah, it's a different medium. It's got nothing to do with the one being better than the other. You need both. I believe you need to give your prospects choice. All of my ads drive traffic to both a specific unique URL, okay, going to my a landing page within my branded or unbranded website. So the website has a branded and unbranded version, just like the hotlines. But each one of my ads also gives prospects the option of calling into the hotline. So I'm driving them to my internet website and to my hotline. Why both? That's the big question. Craig, why do I need both? Why can't I just offer one or the other? Well, you certainly can, but consider this. If forced to, if I took off my hotline numbers off of all my ads, if I forced all my prospects to go to my website, would some of them? Yep, some of them would. But some of them would not. And if I lose even one or two measly transactions in 2009, that would more than pay for my hotlines over and over and over again. Mike, we've mentioned my dad. My dad's a great guy. He sold your house. He works on my team. He's been in real estate for 30 years. But if my dad was the prospect, he's not going to your website in a million years. Do you not want a client like my father when he's ready to buy or sell real estate? So the internet is very, very popular, no question about it. But still today, there's more telephones in the country than there are websites or computers. So I believe you want to offer both. Even for myself, let's say that I'm sitting at the kitchen table and I'm reading the local paper, the classified section, and I happen upon your ad. To get to my computer, I'm in a two-story home, I've got to close the newspaper, walk upstairs, remember your URL, or drag the paper up with me, but I've got to walk upstairs, turn on my computer, go to your website, and fill in my information. Or I can use the cell phone that's in my pocket. What's more convenient?
Right, driving around, yeah.
Choice is very important. And if you use this, let me say one more thing about choice. Choice is really important to all of us as real estate agents as well. What we hope for you, Mike and myself and our entire organization, is that you have so many prospects that you have the power of choice. And you can pick and choose who you want to work with as far as clientele. If that was true for you because the lead generation system was working for you, if you did have the luxury of choice, who would you choose to work with? Obviously, you would choose to work with the most sincere, the most ready to act, the most motivated buyers and sellers out there, and send everyone else packing, perhaps pointing in the direction of your competitors.
Right, and and also too, like 99% of the people use a phone as a universal communication tool over computers as well. Getting back to the, we have another question here about the USP property tree that was common, Craig, and they want to know about the USP property tree and what it does talk about. So when you advertise the branded hotline, USP property tree, and you use a branded ad, do you just put down a toll-free number, or do you give them a specific offer?
When I make an offer to prospects, I'm always thinking I'm talking to a skeptical consumer out there, and especially when I'm promoting some of my unique selling propositions. When I run an ad, for example, that says, your home sold in under 120 days or I'll buy it, I'm thinking, hey, this ad is great, but it sounds too good to be true. How do we get the skeptical consumer to at least raise their hand? How do I generate a lead? Well, how many consumers would just pick up the phone and call Craig Proctor's office and say, hey, Craig, this is Joe Blow. I see your ad. This thing, you'll buy my home for cash. How does that work? Some of them could do that. But a lot of them won't. A lot of them are skeptical, and they're thinking, it sounds too good to be true, or I don't believe it. Wouldn't it be great if we gave the skeptical consumers a non-threatening way for them to get some more information on this program? People that aren't quite sold on the program. That's where we use the hotline. I would say for more information on my guaranteed sale program or to receive a free special report describing how this program can benefit you, call our free recorded message. People can call in, hear directly from me a little bit more about how my guaranteed sale program works, and order a free special report. We have to understand that the number one trend in the country today is skepticism. We're dealing with prospects that are pretty skeptical. If it sounds too good to be true, they think it is. And we need to break through that by baby stepping our prospects. So when you're promoting your unique selling propositions or your benefits, let's make it easy for the skeptical consumer to raise their hand and at least identify themselves so we can follow up with them.
Okay, that's great. Let's get into the reporting question, Craig. I know that's a biggie for you, tracking your return on investment and these different reports. A big benefit of using these types of technologies is the tracking. You get all kinds of reports. How do all the AMS reports that are available to the users help the members get to really understand the effectiveness of their market and track their ROI, or return on investment?
Well, isn't that what it's all about, your ROI, return on investment? I mean, why would we run an ad if it doesn't make us more than what the ad costs? See, here's the experience most real estate agents have. When it comes to advertising, they spend a lot and they get a little back. Okay, what we're proposing is you spend a little and in return you get a lot back. Okay, and you can scientifically do this because the AMS system allows you to measure, okay, or track everything that you do, every ad that you run, so the message, which medium worked the best, which day of the week worked the best. So in a couple weeks, you can test the different ads that we give you, test the different places to run those ads. We call that your medium. Okay, test the best days of the week, and you can figure out what works the best. Now, you know what the ad costs, and you know how many buyers or sellers you wrote a transaction on. So you clearly know your return on investment. If the ad costs you $50, it's nice to know how many leads you generated. But, I mean, even leads. I mean, do you really care about leads? I want to know, how many homes did I sell? How many buyers bought a home? Or how many listings did I sell because of this $50 ad? And that's, especially in 2009, that's what's vitally important, is that we're not wasting our money, that we're not throwing money away on what we think works. You know, we can't be spending money on what we think works or the ads that we like. We always have to let the marketplace dictate what's going to work the best for us. Most of our members are spending 10 to 15% of their gross income. They're making in the 6 digits, some of them more, and they're never ever having to make a cold call. In fact, they're never ever having to initiate a call. 100% of their buyers and sellers that they do business with are contacting them first. So that's what smart marketing enables you to do.
It's a great business to have. Can you explain some of the reports that you use in the AMS system, the ones that you think that help you quickly summarize your tracking or your return?
Yeah, sure. Mostly I use the detailed and the summary report. The detailed report will actually give you the phone number, gives you, like it says, more details. The summary report is something that I'll look at to just quickly understand how many calls I had versus how many messages. So I'm in the habit of doing this every morning. You know, I'll grab my coffee, come down here with my cup of coffee, go to your website, which is the control panel for the hotline, enter my 800 number and my passcode, and if I look, quick look at the summary report, it'll tell me how many people called in on that particular campaign and how many people left a message.
That's great, and I know you like to use the caller line ID report as well when people prospects are looking for properties.
Well, yeah, there's other reports that when you get into it will be really helpful to you. There, like one of the reports that I like to look at tracks the traffic through my branded hotline. Okay, so what I want to know with my branded hotline is I want to know not only how many leads I generated, but I want to understand where's the best place to make those offers, on the main greeting or during the property description. Remember, we call it a USP property tree because it does branch. And because you have the ability to branch the prospect that's listening, you actually can replicate the conversation that you would have with a real buyer or seller. You can give them choices. Would you rather buy first or sell first? If you're a buy first prospect, press 1. If you would rather sell your home before buying, please press 2. Because that's what you and I would do if we were talking to a live prospect. We'd ask them a series of questions, we'd qualify them, and we'd best understand what offers to make them.
So what kind of averages should members be looking for in terms of messages left versus the amount of calls they are receiving on their hotline?
I think realistically, about 2 out of 10 people that call my hotline leave a message. And if you were to take calls yourself, let's say, forget the hotline for a second, how many out of every 10 prospects that contact you would become a client? Probably, 1 or 2 out of 10. Right. So, the great thing about this is you're not the one that had to handle all these inquiries. Your robot got rid of the other 8 and left the 2 best prospects that are going to do business with you on your hotline, and those are the ones you're going to follow up with. So I think if you're getting 2 or, if you're getting 3 out of every 10 people that call your hotline to leave a message, you're a bit of a rock star.
Well, it's 20-30%. That's great.
Yep.
In this new economy, this is a common question we've had, Craig, in this new economy now. We've had a lot of questions about short sales. And are there any scripts, reports, ads available for your members? Can you comment on that?
Well, you can use a lot of our existing campaigns. I know some of our coaches have created some new campaigns, but Todd Walters, for example, in Atlanta, created an ad that says "Sellers in Trouble." Here's an ad that we would run. It says a guaranteed cash offer for your home in 24 hours. Which is just the guaranteed sale program. So you're going to use a lot of our existing campaigns to get these motivated sellers to contact you, and then we have special training calls that talk about how to best deal with short sales. I did one recently with Bob Zachmeyer from Tucson. I believe he's the number 2 agent in all of Tucson, and namely because he's become an expert at short sales. But there's some very specific things that you need to do, and we talk about how to work with the bank's loss mitigators to make sure that these short sales get dealt with, and we talk about what's in it for the seller to want to sell their home when they're upside down, and of course what's in it for the financial institutions to want to make this happen. And it definitely is something that you really need to become an expert at, especially for some of you in marketplaces where the majority of sellers are upside down. So I would use some of the existing ads that we have available to our members. But Bob Zachmeyer from Tucson is a great guy to talk to. You can Google him. Todd Walters in Atlanta, Georgia, another great guy to talk to. These guys are happy to share with you some of the ads that they run. And I think in Atlanta right now, Todd said that only about 1 in every 20 listings is selling. So, extremely difficult marketplace. However, Todd's still selling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes. By the way, earlier this morning, I interviewed Brian Pelican, another one of our members from Las Vegas. Check this out. Brian's been in real estate since 2003, I believe. His first year, he did 24 transactions. Last year, he did 809 transactions. So, worst market ever in Las Vegas, and he's had by far his very best year. That's why, there's no direct link between what's happening in the marketplace and your success in this business. When the market was the hottest, Brian was doing the worst. The market's at its worst ever in Las Vegas, and Brian's had his best year ever. So it's really, I find, Mike, how real estate agents respond to what's happening right now in the marketplace and the economy. Of course, the majority of agents will use what's happening in the marketplace right now as a reason or excuse not to do anything. They congregate around the water cooler complaining about how bad things are and throw up their hands and say, what's the use? And other agents have a totally different response. They look at the marketplace and they say, what is the opportunity? Okay, what is the opportunity? When everybody else is complaining about how bad things are, what's good about the way things are? And they seize that opportunity like Brian Pelican has.
So you're basically targeting prospects that have a need to buy or sell their home right now in this economy.
It's not always the case. I mean, it's more important now than ever, but here's the challenge that I would like to throw to everybody. I don't care what part of the country you're in or even what country you're in. If you're listening to this call and you think right now, gee, what's the use? There's nothing selling in my marketplace, because that's what we hear. As I travel across the country, I'll hear agents say, well, what's the use? Why come to this Craig Proctor seminar? Why come on these calls? I mean, nothing's selling. In other words, why try? Because nothing's selling, they say. And I say, really? Well, if you take the time, and this is for anybody, if you take the time to check your MLS out, do a bit of a search, let's say over the last 30 days, and what you'll find is there are more homes selling in your marketplace over the last 30 days than your ability to sell them if you had all that business. Okay, so there's still lots of houses selling. A quick search on MLS will prove that to you. The problem for most of us is we're not plugged into those transactions that are happening with or without us. So there are people that absolutely have to sell their home right now, today in your marketplace. Let's have a look at some of those groups of people quickly. Somebody that's getting divorced. I mean, Mike, can you see husband and wife sitting around the table saying, we really don't like each other, but maybe we should just hang out and stay together because I hear it's not a very good time to sell the house. That's probably, not going to happen, right?
Not going to happen, no.
Right. They're going to sell the house no matter what. The opposite of that is there's people that are getting together. They're getting married. Perhaps they each own a house right now. They're going to sell each of those homes and they're going to buy one together. Perhaps it's somebody with a growing family. They just had another child. They need a fourth bedroom. So there's people being born today. There's families are expanding, and the opposite of that is people are passing away. There's estate sales. Homes need to be sold. There's people that are transferring. There's a lot of downsizing happening in corporate America right now. Companies are looking at their organization. They're saying, look, we're going to pare this down. We're going to take Bob, who's in Minneapolis, and we're going to transfer him to Atlanta, and he's going to take care of the entire, East Coast. There are people that absolutely are being transferred right now, more so than any other time because of this downsizing. So, there could be somebody in your marketplace that absolutely needs to sell because they're being moved out of the marketplace, or a relo buyer that's coming into the marketplace. And by the way, I love relo buyers, Mike, because they come in and they've got, like 4 or 5 days to buy a house. Anyway, I mean, I could go on and on, but that's just an example of the fact that there's lots of houses selling right now. You got to do something to plug yourself into those transactions that are happening, and that's what we teach agents to do at our upcoming super conferences, to identify those opportunities, to target the buyers that are absolutely going to buy and the sellers that are absolutely going to sell, get them to raise their hands, and then see you as somebody that's different and better than all your competitors, so they want to do business with you and only with you.
Great. Well, Craig, you mentioned the super conference, but let's just take one, I think, really important question. I know we've got about 17, 18 minutes before the call is complete. Let's talk about follow-up, lead follow-up. That's where I think a lot of agents fall down in this area. So once you've got the lead, what is it that you do to follow up with the prospect? Because we know that a lead isn't any good unless you follow up properly.
Well, yeah, we're not here to collect leads. A lot of people make that mistake. They run the ad, they drive traffic to their hotline, they pull the messages off if they even go that far, and they go, wow, isn't this great? It all works. The Achilles heel with this system is you need to actually pick up the phone and follow up the leads. There's no reason to be fearful of this. Some realtors are afraid of the telephone because they associate what we're describing here. They confuse that with cold calling. Well, this is not cold calling. In fact, 100% of these people have picked up the phone and they've called you on their own volition. How easy is that? You're calling back prospects that have already raised their hand and called you and left you a message. So using the universal callback script, you're going to call them back and introduce yourself. It goes something like this. Hi, may I speak to Mike Kowalski, please? Mike, this is
yes,
a role
I'm
play,
here.
by the way.
I'm here.
You got to play the part of the time.
All right.
Let's start over. Hi, may I speak to Mike Kowalski, please?
You're speaking to him.
This is Craig Proctor with RE/MAX. And Mike, the reason I was calling is because I received your request for the foreclosure property list you wanted, and just wanted to let you know that I've sent that information out to you. By the way, are you folks planning on making a move in the next little while?
Yeah, I think we are.
Great. And would you be staying local or moving out of the area?
Probably locally.
Okay. And do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right?
Do I have one now? No.
Okay. And what's your timing on this? When are you thinking of making this move?
I'm probably looking in the next 30 days.
Okay. And do you own a home now, or are you currently renting?
I own a home now.
Okay. And would you prefer to buy first, or would you rather sell your existing home before you buy another?
I think I would prefer to sell before I buy.
Great. And what's your timing on this? You think you might do something in the next couple months?
I would say within, 60 days would be fair to say, yes.
Would you like a free market evaluation to determine what your home would sell for? Also, I could give you some tips on what to do and what not to do so you can prepare your home to sell it for the most amount of money. Also, I could go over all your various closing costs and answer any other questions that you may have. It's a free service, and you're not obligated to do anything. Would that be of interest to you, Mike?
That would be. That'd be great. How do I get this?
Great. Well, when would be a good time for us to get together, days or evenings?
Probably during the day.
And that's it. Now, if you had have answered those questions differently, there would have been a different course of outcome. Obviously, I don't want to meet with you if you're not thinking of selling your home for 3, 4, or 5 months down the road, but I would follow up with you. But we spend an enormous amount of time at the Super Conference talking about what you should be doing as far as what you should say and what you should be sending your prospects that respond to the ads and leave a message on the hotline.
Okay. Well, let's just, how much time we got left, Marissa, left in this call?
We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, Craig, let's just do a quick recap. A lot of people on this call are just getting started out. Can you just quickly review the most important thing to get them going? Like, I'm sure that the main thing is to get the listing and make money from their investment. Can you tell us the one thing that they can get going to get their return?
Well, this is you may see this as self-serving, but the number one thing that I would do is to make sure you're at our upcoming Super Conference. For those of you that have already been to one and you're coming back to a second one, perhaps you're in our coaching program already, we'll be doing some special breakout sessions for you. For those who have never been to one of my conferences before, it really is like nothing else there in the real estate industry. It is a super conference. That's why we just don't call it a normal real estate seminar. You spend 36 hours with me. That's right. I teach about 30 of the 36 hours. Pretty exhausting, and that's why I only do these things 3 times a year. But you're actually learning from somebody that successfully sells real estate. Most of these trainers, haven't been in front of a real buyer or seller in 20 years or more, if ever at all. I'm in the trenches every day, just like you, selling real estate, so I can not only give you the ads and the follow-up scripts and dialogues and the listing presentations and the buyer presentations and talk to you about how to structure your team and give you the contracts that you need to protect yourself when you're hiring assistants and give you my guidance on technology like hotlines and websites. But we get into this in a fair amount of detail. On top of getting this training from me, imagine being in a huge conference room with 2,000 other agents. Let's face it, here's what it takes for you to go back and change your business. Number one, you need to know what to do, right? You need somebody to help you understand what's important to implement in your business. See, when I started in real estate back 20 years ago, I didn't have that. I made the same mistake that you probably made. When I got into real estate, I looked around at what everyone else was doing, and I just copied it. Who was I to reinvent real estate or question anything? I had no sales or marketing experience, so I just did what my broker told me to do, which was cold call and knock on doors and open houses, and that didn't get me very far. So you don't have to make all the mistakes that I made earlier in my career. you can learn from someone like me and the hundreds of other agents, thousands really, that are going to be in attendance, actually what works, what to do and what not to do. Also, I think what's very important is not only a list of what you need to do and how to do it, but the confidence to go back and do something. There's a big difference between knowing something and doing something. I'm sure right now most of you know an awful lot. There's things that you know would actually help your real estate business that you haven't implemented. So there's a big difference between knowing how to do something and actually doing it. The reason we don't do some of the things we know we should do is because we really don't believe that those things are important, and that's the reason why we haven't made the time to get these ideas implemented. Or perhaps there's some fear, we don't know how to implement them, or we don't completely understand how to do it. That's the biggest thing that you walk away with at the Super Conference, is in addition to very specific knowledge of what to do and how to do it, I call it supreme confidence. Because at breaks, at lunch, at the dinner break, after the conference every day, imagine being able to meet with some of the very best real estate agents in the country, and if they're all doing certain things, that would give me, if it was me anyway, the supreme confidence to go back with confidence and get these ideas implemented, because I would be thinking to myself, all of these hundreds and hundreds of people can't be wrong. I know this is going to work for me because I've got social proof. I've talked to so many people in completely different marketplaces that are having massive success with this. Now, if you would like to get more information on our Super Conference, okay, I would visit our website, because there's lots of stuff there, lots of information. There's video testimonials, written testimonials, audio testimonials. Most importantly, you can read about our 100% money-back guarantee. If you're skeptical about going to real estate seminars, I don't blame you, because most of them aren't very good. Okay, this one is. And that's why we give you a 100% money-back guarantee. In fact, not only will we give you all your money back, if you don't like the conference, any time up until the halfway point, we'll actually give you all your money back, plus we'll give you $250 towards your airfare to send you back home. There's a ton of bonuses that we're giving you right now. If you register this week for the conference, we're giving out like over $20,000 in bonuses if you bought those separately through our office, but we're going to give those to you for free. And there's a price break. You can reserve your spot for as low as $495. We've got a payment plan, but you should check it out. I'm going to give everyone the website. It's easy to remember, quantumleapseminar.com. Okay, because that's what you're in for if you go, is a quantum leap. So it's www.quantumleapseminar.com, quantumleapseminar.com. If you misspell it or whatever, you can just Google Craig Proctor and you'll find it. Our phone number, if you prefer to speak to a live person, our toll-free number is 1-800-538-1034. That's 1-800-538-1034. And Mike, I want to thank you for inviting me onto today's call.